have two talks as per usual, really. The first one is going to be around integrating with Salesforce Marketing Cloud and clearly leveraging the MuleSoft platform around that. Then our second topic for today is going to be around MuleSoft deployment models. Arjul from Capgemini will discuss around this, and we'll touch upon primarily, I guess, two common ones that we see, and one that's becoming more and more popular actually between using the benefits using Cloud Hub vis-a-vis on-prem and leveraging or more hybrid and leveraging RTF in this instance. I'll have a quick roundup, a bit of news, other things that have happened in the past 3 months since we met, and I'll be putting Royston on the spot on a few things. So hopefully he's prepared with all of his depth of knowledge, and then we'll try and snap a photograph if we can using the technology. Just to myself, for those who are new, so I've been leading this meetup now for the past 2.5 years, which has kind of gone pretty quickly. I'm Senior Director and the Practice Lead for MuleSoft in Southeast Asia at Capgemini. And also Royston. Royston, quick introduction to yourself.
Hello, everyone. I work as a Senior Technical Architect in the Customer Success team in Singapore. I used to be based out of Sydney until January this year. So I'm relatively new to the region and enjoying it so far.
And once again, good to have you on board. So without further ado again, so Arvind, I'm going to hand you over to your introduction and your presentation.
Sure. Hi all, I'm Arvind. I'm a solution architect. I'm from the Professional Services Singapore. And yeah, I will be talking about integrating with Marketing Cloud via MuleSoft today. William, I'd like to share my screen. Okay, I hope everyone is able to see my screen. The agenda today is about seeing how we can leverage MuleSoft to integrate with Marketing Cloud. As part of that, we will be seeing why do we need marketing altogether, right? And then we will also see the Salesforce Marketing Cloud overview. We'll see a few integration patterns that I had come across while integrating with Marketing Cloud. And we will map them to a real-life use case view to see how those integration patterns can be leveraged. And a short demo, which is the meaty part of this particular presentation. Yep, this is what we'll be looking at today. So moving on to the next slide. Why marketing? As everyone knows, marketing has been the prime center today in the digital age. And also with the COVID situation, customers have started going out to malls, to shopping complexes, to buy things, right? So the interaction has been heavily digital. So we have always seen this famous circle around the customer, right? And this image reflects that the customer is at the center of everything. And in the perspective of marketing, this is 360 view of marketing around the customer. What happens by putting customer at the center and marketing around that? It will help us engage with the customer and build rich customer experience. It will help deliver meaningful messages whenever we connect with the customer. This also helps us evolve a brand image for the company itself, as we'll be sending out meaningful messages to the customer rather than obsolete messages. And with this, what happens is customer is quite happy with the way we talk to them. They think the company understands them better, and then that helps increase the customer retention. And with that, we will be able to upsell and cross-sell different products to the customer, which boosts the business, right? So that is why marketing is quite important today. So this is the another deep dive of the same image where different sources of data that helps map single source of truth of a customer and how we would circle back with marketing messages out to the customer. Right? There's always a saying, you should measure what you treasure. And here, the treasure is our customer, right? And the relationship with the customer is what we should treasure. So the short answer of how to measure it is to close the loop with the customer. What does that mean? If we zoom out and look at the end-to-end view, it doesn't stop just at sending out messages and doing the measurements, right? Through the power of data and AI that Salesforce stack offers, infused through the platform, we will get to know the customer quite well. There will be humanizing messages that will be sent out as marketing messages, and this will immensely impact the growth of both customer as well as the revenue for business. On the left, if you see, these are the different data sources of the customer, say the customer details or the customer interactions that happens in the market, like you buying something online, you going onto a social website and searching for some stuff. So all those interactions can be captured and ingested into the marketing tool. And once we have a single source of truth of all that data, and leveraging all the campaign strengths that you can build on marketing platform, you can send out moments or triggered moments or real-time moments to the customer to engage with them on meaningful journeys, which will send out marketing messages. Yeah, and those can be via different channels. It can be over email, on a web page where the customer has logged in on the website, or on the mobile app as a push notification, or any other channel. Right. So moving on to the next slide, as we see that, this is a high-level detail about what Salesforce Marketing Cloud offers. Right, Marketing Cloud is the platform for delivering relevant, personalized journeys across channels and devices, which enables marketers to deliver the right message to the right people via the right channel. What does this mean? We have Salesforce Marketing Cloud, which has this plethora of features, which enables us to interact with the customer with meaningful messages via different channels based on any actions or single source of truth of the customer details that has been captured. Right? With the different product stack that it has, we have Audience Studio, we have Data Studio, we have Social Studio, Journey Builder, Email Studio, and so on. And each one of them have different actions that they do. We will touch upon a few of those products today as we see the demo, and we'll see how it helps us put together a quick marketing journey for a customer, and how we can engage with the customer meaningfully. Yeah. With that, we jump into the details on how we integrate with Marketing Cloud itself. So there are two basic patterns that emerged out of the use cases that I delivered to a very prominent banking customer in the Asia region. And those were either real-time interactions or integrations with Marketing Cloud, and also batch integrations with Marketing Cloud to load bulk data, right? So on the left, if you see, I've represented the real-time integration pattern, where Marketing Cloud allows you to sync or send out marketing details via synchronous or asynchronous communication. And asynchronous communication is for a limited load. So MuleSoft can be leveraged in the following mechanisms. Either we can use the Marketing Cloud connector that comes as part of MuleSoft. This basically wraps the SOAP APIs that the Marketing Cloud offers, but we have a nice connector which quickly helps us to connect with Marketing Cloud, and we can send out information. Then Marketing Cloud also offers a plethora of REST APIs and SOAP APIs, which can also be leveraged as needed. But for most cases, our Marketing Cloud connector helps us accommodate whatever requirements for real-time or needs for real-time do come out of the project. So what can be accomplished with real-time communication. We can have real-time interactions that can be captured via MuleSoft and sent to Marketing Cloud Interaction Studio. And also we can capture customer information and other actions of customers and store them in Marketing Cloud data extensions. So we will look in detail on what interaction event and Marketing Cloud data extensions are in the upcoming slides. So the other integration option that we had come across was batch integrations for bulk loads. So Marketing Cloud effectively offers an SFTP connectivity to it, where you can generate a file and post it over an SFTP folder that Marketing Cloud offers. And you can send out customer details or customer interaction details to the SFTP location. It can be a big file as big as, say, 1 gig. And Marketing Cloud can ingest that file and process it into data extensions. And it can so on from there, post it to a marketing journey where customer will be put on a journey to send out marketing notifications. So what are the tasks that you can accomplish? You can import a list of records into Marketing Cloud, or you can as well export reports or list of records from Marketing Cloud for customized channel communication, which means that Marketing Cloud has features where you can send out SMSs or say social notifications, say WhatsApp or line messages. But if there is a need where customer says leverage our SMS gateway, then Marketing Cloud can export the data, and MuleSoft can take it from there and push it into the SMS gateway of the customer. So I've put down all the list of details on how you can connect via different channels over here, and you will also see what are the limitations of each channel on these links that I have put over here. So as we have seen two different patterns, now let's associate that to a real life use case, right? First, we will be looking at batch processing into Marketing Cloud. So I had one of the use case where I had to process bulk data from different source systems into Marketing Cloud, and one instance of where from Marketing Cloud, I had to send out SMSs via the SMS gateway of the customer, right? So we had to build multiple bulk process APIs, which would in turn talk to the source system like data lake. It would pick a big file, and using streaming, we will stream that file into the SFTP location of Marketing Cloud. And transformations as necessary so that the required format of Marketing Cloud is met, and Marketing Cloud is able to pick that file and process it further. So what happens over here? So if you look at this image, here is where the file is, where MuleSoft picks it from data lake and sends it into Marketing Cloud. Marketing Cloud will have automated journeys where it will pick the file at a scheduled time, import it into a data extension, run automated queries against that to fetch out the data to whom the notifications have to be sent. It can also check whether the customer is in an exclusion list, and then it can send out notifications via different channels. So if it had to send out an SMS notification, it was generating an SMS file in the Marketing Cloud SFTP folder, where MuleSoft will periodically look for files on SFTP folder, pick that, and process it into an SFTP folder of the SMS gateway of client. So this was a big use case that we delivered successfully. The bottlenecks that we faced were around processing big files, and the streaming capability of MuleSoft helped a lot to process those without any issues. So I've jotted down a few details on the file format and stuff itself that Marketing Cloud expects, and additional details also can be found in this link. Yeah, so this was around batch processing into Marketing Cloud. The next one is about asynchronous processing into Marketing Cloud. So Marketing Cloud offers REST APIs and SOAP APIs. with which you can connect to Marketing Cloud as well, right? So we had a scenario where the concerns of the user, like send me notifications only via SMS, do not send me emails. So such concerns were being captured as in Amazon, and MuleSoft was able to subscribe to those messages, right? And these messages had to be put into Marketing Cloud so that Marketing Cloud can take necessary action based on the customer's preference. So how did we achieve that? Marketing Cloud offers bulk or batch messaging in an asynchronous fashion, where you don't have to overload Marketing Cloud, as well as you can send out batches of 200 messages at a time. So what we did is we had a MuleSoft subscriber, which would pick up 200 messages at a time, request, and leverage the SOAP API or the REST API of Marketing Cloud and send a single call to Marketing Cloud to send 200 messages. And that way, MuleSoft was able to process the concerns of the user into Marketing Cloud. Yeah. So these are different details of the Marketing Cloud async API details. And I've also left a link where you can look at different details, like what's the token timeout, or what is the amount of load that you can send to the API itself. The third integration pattern was around synchronous processing into Marketing Cloud. This was a heavy use case that we delivered for the customer, where we had to process customers' credit card transaction details into Marketing Cloud so that the customer is put into a meaningful journey. We all have received notifications in the past when we bought a new credit card, right? It will, as soon as you receive the credit card, you will get an SMS notification saying, please activate your card within the next 3 days to start leveraging the functionality of the card, right? So how does that notification happen? So the credit card system, as soon as sends out the credit card to the customer, would send out an event on one of the queues of IBM MQ at the customer location, and MuleSoft was subscribing to those messages. So we had a flow where we would subscribe on activation. The messages on activation that would come into the queue were subscribed, and we would update the customer profile saying this customer has bought a credit card and it needs to be activated. We put in a flag and then update that in Marketing Cloud. So Marketing Cloud, with that update, can now send out notifications to the customer saying, oh, you have a new credit card that you have subscribed for, and it is waiting for activation. So a meaningful message gets sent out. So that way, we had three different variety of messages that came in. One was for activation, one was on approval of credit card, and one was for credit card spend itself. So the credit card spend was quite a complex use case that we delivered, where based on the transactions that the customers make, we had to aggregate different details like the total spend of the customer in the last 3 months, in the last 6 months, the total spend of the customer online, the total spend of the customer internationally. So depending on those different details, we would update data in Marketing Cloud after aggregating that information. And Marketing Cloud, based on that particular information, say the customer has met a spending limit of say 20K in a month, then they offer them an additional credit or a voucher. So all that different meaningful notifications are with the data that we process into Marketing Cloud. Yeah. So we leveraged real-time APIs to interact with Marketing Cloud for this particular use case. So these were the three different journeys: the activation, the credit card spend, and the earlier one was the approval journey. So with that, I would like to give you a quick demo on how MuleSoft can integrate with Marketing Cloud, how I set up Marketing Cloud platform, and how I could quickly establish connection. So this is the Marketing Cloud login page. Now, once we log in, we will land up into the home page. Okay, just give me a moment. Sorry about the wait. Okay, as this notification comes through, okay, just going through. Okay, so this is the landing page of Marketing Cloud. And as soon as I created the first instance of demo instance of Marketing Cloud, what I did is I went to the setup page of Marketing Cloud. And over here, I created a connected app. So how do we connect with Marketing Cloud? There has to be a secured mechanism, right? So I went to the apps page and created a MuleSoft app over here, which indirectly gave me a set of credentials using which I can establish secured connectivity over OAuth. So you get the authentication URL, you get the REST API and the SOAP API as well with the client ID, client secret. And leveraging that, I could go into MuleSoft, and we have the Salesforce Marketing Cloud connector, and I could easily create a connection over here using those details. So look over here, I gave the client ID, client secret, and the token URL that was present in that page, and this helped me establish connectivity with Marketing Cloud within 5 minutes. Right? This is how I could securely connect to Marketing Cloud. So as part of the next step, what I did is I went into Marketing Cloud and went into Audience Builder. So as a first part, what do we need? We need a source, right? A source of or a stream of data that comes into Marketing Cloud and it gets stored into Marketing Cloud. So for that, where does it get stored? It gets stored in a data extension. So what I did is I came to Data Extensions tab of Marketing Cloud and created a data extension over here called Journey Entry DE. And if you look at it, I gave 4 values. This is a standard value that we need to keep in. I added an email address. I added a first name and a last name. And currently, if you see, there are 0 records that it contains, right? So once I have this data extension created, now it is about using that data and sending customers notifications via a journey, right? So to send out a notification, we can configure different email templates so that you send out meaningful messages in the format that the enterprise wants, right? So for that reason, I came to Email Studio and created an email content that I want to send out, which is quite simple. Come to the Email Studio and create one instance of what email that you need to send out. So if you look at it, this is the welcome email detail, where I quickly put in the content that I want to send out as email. And that's how the email details were created. And after that, what we need to create is a journey on which the customer would be set onto, right? So for that, I came on to the Journey Builder. And I created 2 sets of journeys. One is the real-time scenario, where I said we can receive real-time instances of notification and send out the marketing notification, for which I defined an entry event with what data extension that it is associated. So when an event occurs, the data would be fed into the journey entry DE, and then it will trigger out the welcome email that I configured, and it will, and so on. You can add more steps that you want over here. So let's see into action on how this operates. If you look at the studio, I had put a small Hello World flow to connect to Marketing Cloud. where I receive information over a REST API. I receive the first name, last name, and email address of the customer, and I send it out to Marketing Cloud, where I upsert the data extension record. Yeah. So if you look at the mapping, I'm just sending out the 4 key fields that we saw on data extension. So this is running currently on CloudUp as we speak. Okay. As that logs in, let's go to Postman and try to run the request. Sorry, I'm not able to pull in the Postman on that screen, but this is where I'm going to run the request to send out one of the requests to Marketing Cloud, and it has been processed into Marketing Cloud successfully. So this is the API that I have, which listens on to the REST API, and it is sending out to Marketing Cloud. If you look at it, at right about now, it's received this request and processed it successfully into Marketing Cloud. So let's go into Marketing Cloud and see if this particular data is visible. So as I go into Marketing Cloud, I can go into the contact builder and look in the data extension if this is visible. So as we go into data extension, we can see that there is one record that has been processed into Marketing Cloud. And what that record is, I had given the sub key as 1111 with my email address, first name, and last name, and that record came through at real time. So this is how successfully we could process a record at real time from MuleSoft into Marketing Cloud. So that is one other way where we said bulk APIs can be imported, right? For that reasons, I also went into setup and created an FTP connectivity with Marketing Cloud. And then I set up a journey to process the bulk load into Marketing Cloud. And if I go into Journey Builder again, I can quickly show you that journey, which is currently stored, but this is how you can receive data into the data extension, and then you can send out welcome emails depending on when you have scheduled from that bulk process that it comes into. Right, and the automation can be done via the Automation Studio, which receives the file from the FTP location and then processes it into the FTP, from the FTP folder into data extension. Okay, so this is the flow that was created where I have a scheduled job which imports file from the FTP folder and sends it into the data extension. And from this data extension, I am sending out emails. So this is where you can configure the file name pattern and details that you need to map into the data extension, and the data would be processed from the file into the data extension. Yeah, this is what I had as presentation for you today. I hope this was useful and can be leveraged in your upcoming projects.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for that. Good presentation, very informative, and a new area for me as well, Marketing Cloud. It's good to see. So I guess for everybody in the session, please feel free to add any questions you have on the topic. I'll give you a couple whilst people maybe put their thinking caps on about questions for you. So part of, I guess, the synergies that we start to see between MuleSoft and Salesforce, and why those two things may happen and go together, you know, when I think about from a customer perspective, is about acceleration. Okay, acceleration of development. We've talked around connectors and templates and things like that already. From your perspective, you know, can you give some indication as to, you know, how fast or maybe what you perceived that you saved in terms of previous development experience through using what MuleSoft comes with out of the box?
Right. So MuleSoft today, I mean, if you look at Exchange, we have a batch file processing sample or template available. That can be one portion of work that can be leveraged, and we can save or accelerate our development to processing bulk load from an FTP location or from a database into Marketing Cloud's FTP location. So that really helped us to accelerate our development by leveraging one of the examples. We hadn't found any Marketing Cloud connector examples, but it was quite quick for us to put together, as we saw in the demo. So it's easy to connect with Marketing Cloud, and you just collect the data extension and map them into the data extension to process the data. So that was quite straightforward. I think we will look at publishing that particular system API as well, so that everyone can leverage, and that would somehow help speed up the development.
Sure. Okay, that's good. And from a bulk perspective, you talked around volumes and things like that. What was the, when we talk around size, what was kind of the size of that volume of data that you were kind of streaming and stuff, in terms of whether you're doing it daily or hourly? I don't know, but can you give some indication to that?
Sure. There's quite a good history around that. You came up with a good question on this point. What happened is we first discussed with Marketing Cloud folks on the requirement itself, where we understood that the file size wouldn't be more than 200 MB. That's the max that they said it would be. And since it was an on-prem MuleSoft server that was going to run the application, it was easy for us to schedule it at the night when minimum jobs are running, and we could process that file into Marketing Cloud. But what happened at production is, day one we see a file which is 400 MB, which is double the size of what was told it would be. But eventually, since we used streaming, we could process it successfully, but then it was slow. And then we had to figure out mechanisms on how to make it faster. And also the connectivity to SFTP from our Asia network sometimes drops off if it is over VPN. So what happened is we saw a few glitches on connectivity, and the retry mechanism was not robust enough to reprocess the file. It just threw an error and notified the customer. So on an enhancement, we went and had a robust fix put in place, which would process the big file as big as we tested for 1 gig. It could successfully process it. It eventually took time to process it, which we let customer know because of the internet connectivity and the bandwidth that is available. But then the framework was made robust enough to handle exceptions and retry the processing itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on that processing, was there where was partly that limitation? Was it on maybe core allocation if we're running on Cloud Hub, or could that be expanded and scaled out? What was the limitation point?
So the limitation was rightly said around core limitation. Thankfully, we were on-prem, so we could use all the entire core size during the nighttime when there is no real-time load coming in. But if it is a Cloud Hub deployment, we definitely have to be aware of how much core have we allocated for this particular application processing.
Okay, very good. So we have 2 questions from the audience, let's say, and partly these 2 maybe you've already touched upon, but we'll go into each of them. So Atif, thank you for your questions. So, and you need to answer honestly here as well, Aaron. Would you highlight any, or could you highlight any limitations around MuleSoft and the Marketing Cloud connector, if there are any? Any whether it's limitations or kind of gotchas? I mean, you sort of pointed towards a couple that you've already spoken around on the batch side. Is there anything else that you kind of found out that you spent time head scratching?
Indeed. And that's why in this presentation deck, I've captured all the limitations that we came across, which is very important to note down, because as we design, we will definitely hit those bottlenecks. and it is quite open on the documentation of Salesforce side, where the SOAP APIs or REST APIs available from Marketing Cloud can cater to a certain TPS. It cannot scale further. So parallel processing into Marketing Cloud is a challenge when it comes to a large number of hits at the same time. So that's why queuing the messages and processing them later from there in batches into Marketing Cloud works effectively. If the load is quite low, if it is not more than 10 or 15 TPS, you can stream them into Marketing Cloud as real time. But else, I would advise you to put it onto a queue and then process it slowly from there, or kind of batch it in some form of 200 records and send out one request instead of one single request for every record that comes in.
Okay. And then maybe just quickly, just on that. So from a queuing technology, then what did you end up leveraging? Was that MuleSoft queuing, or did you use something else for that?
Yeah, so the customer had Amazon SQS for one of the consent messages that came in that I spoke about. And it also had RabbitMQ for all the credit card events that came through. So we could integrate with these two message processors and then consume messages from there and send it over to Marketing Cloud.
And presumably that's all for persistence and resilience in I guess, an asynchronous way.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Then on to last question. So just one from Claudine. And again, we might have just sort of touched upon some of that stuff, but maybe in a different direction. So the question is around Marketing Cloud, and it's a very relevant one. Marketing Cloud at one point will have other heavy traffic or bulk campaigns to send emails. How does this MuleSoft manage that load? Are there any limitations? And that may be from both ways, I guess. We've touched around one direction. I mean, I think mainly going into Marketing Cloud. What about going out? Is there any concerns there, or how does that kind of mechanism work?
Right. So for going out, either Marketing Cloud can make an outbound call to our API, which is a custom coding on the Marketing Cloud end, which normally is not encouraged from their side. But the other mechanism is to drop a file on their FTP location, which we can consume. So however big the load is, it is going to be a file that would be placed on the SFTP location of Marketing Cloud. And MuleSoft would pick that and then process it down to the SMS gateway or to whatever end system that it needs to go to.
I think in the presentation, your example where you were sending out, whether it may have been, I can't remember, was it SMSs or also email campaign? What sort of volumes are you seeing in that instance?
Yeah,
so was it quite real time?
It was. So SMSs were being sent out every 30 minutes, and the load was around 10,000 to 20,000 SMSs within that time frame during a normal period. But during vacations, during the holiday seasons, you would have the load increasing quite high. But then it was still a file that was being placed on the FTP, and we could process that big file into the SMS gateway from where it gets sent out as SMS.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Hopefully, Adil and Claudine, that kind of gave you a little bit of answers to your questions. And to Aaron's point in the presentation, which will be posted back up on the Meetup website. So you'll have that for your reference. And within there, I think kindly provided some links around some of those limitations and that's also things and learnings that you found through your implementation. So just maybe go on to the next level. Okay. Thank you very much and for your time and for the presentation this evening. Much appreciated. On to maybe the next one, if you could. You stopped sharing, haven't you? I think actually.
I have stopped sharing. Yeah.
Let me just check if Arjul is here as yet. Arjul? He is here. Let me. Sorry, Arjul, can you share your screen now, if possible?
Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, there is, Arjul.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Let me share my screen.
So Arjul is going to be our second presenter. So Arjul is a manager at Capgemini and MuleSoft architect with a good amount of experience over the last years, both developing and architecting MuleSoft solutions. And Arjul is going to take you through a bit more now into some of the, I guess, platform architecture side and setup, and going through a number of the options that you have in terms of deploying the MuleSoft infrastructure. So Arjul, over to you.
Okay, hi. So I'm Arjel Caballat. So I'm a technical architect at Capgemini. So I'll be discussing the different deployment options available for MuleSoft. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Can hear you clearly and can see your screen.
Okay. Okay. So I hope everyone is having a good day today. Before we jump into the discussion, so better to understand these options. So it's important to know which is the control plane and runtime plane. So control plane is the contains of product features and components that are part of the endpoint design center, endpoint management center, and endpoint exchange. So these are the components that you use to design, deploy, and manage APIs and MuleSoft applications. So runtime plane is where your APIs and Mule applications are deployed and made available to users or consumers. So these Mule runtime server are supporting services are included in the runtime plane. So this is the runtime plane. So here's the quick overview of the different deployment options. So we have Cloud Hub, so provisioned and managed by MuleSoft, and automatically patches and updates security and globally available. MuleSoft provided security and SLA. Then we have the hybrid cloud or the naked Mules, which is where the control plane is still managed by MuleSoft, but the runtime plane is managed by customer, either on cloud like AWS, Azure, or on-prem physical server. For this option, you need to manually set up some features like inbound HTTP load balancing, automated failover, the zero downtime deployments, HA features, and scalability. So those are you can do it, but you need to do it manually. It's not set up automatically. Then we have the hybrid cloud again, but it's containerized with runtime fabric managed by MuleSoft and the control plane, but the runtime plane it's hosted on the customer side. So runtime fabric is a container service that enables you to run Mule applications and API gateways managed by a customer and can be deployed on any physical servers, virtual machines, or within the cloud also, either Amazon or Azure. And then lastly, is the Endpoint Platform Private Cloud Edition, wherein both runtime and control plane is hosted on the customer. Okay, so introduction to Cloud Hub. So Cloud Hub is an iPaaS component of Endpoint Platform. Fully managed by MuleSoft, no hardware procurement, no infrastructure maintained, one place to develop, deploy, and maintain your integrations. Acquires all the cloud features, highly available, secure, multi-tenanted, control access based on complex organization and requirements. So on Cloud Hub, each Mule application is deployed on a separate Mule runtime, which runs in a complete isolated worker. So a new virtual machine is automatically provisioned for a new Mule runtime, and this is called the Cloud Hub worker. Other features like distributed inbound HTTP requests to multiple Cloud Hub workers, provides automatically redirection to new Cloud Hub workers after a Mule application is resized or restarted, resulting to a zero downtime deployment. And you can easily scale a Mule application horizontally by changing the number of Cloud Hub workers assigned to a Cloud Hub deployed Mule application. So you can add like 2 or 3 more just to make it out. So on a typical scenario, this is how the Cloud Hub will connect on your on-prem or existing applications. You can see by using a secure IPsec tunneling or VPN, we can directly or create a secure connection through your on-premise applications. And we have other option also. If you're a client or if you're running on a cloud service also like AWS, we can do a VPC peering to create a secure connection to your Cloud Hub. So VPC peering is a network connection between two VPCs that enables you to route traffic between them. So using private IP addresses, not on the public. And then, so using Cloud Hub still allows you to have a secure connection on applications, either on-prem or cloud. So you have 2 options there. So next we have the Runtime Fabric. Again, so Runtime Fabric is a container service that enables to run a Mule application and API gateways managed by customer and can be deployed on any physical servers, virtual machines, and cloud. So compared to the normal hybrid cloud, or what we call the naked mules, RTF have some features like inbound HTTP load balancing, rescale Mule runtimes with zero downtime, and a Cloud Hub-like runtime service provisions into a customer-hosted infrastructure, and these are readily available based on Docker and Kubernetes to achieve the portability and horizontal scalability. So with Endpoint Runtime Fabric, you can deploy consistently across AWS, Azure, or data center, run multiple versions of runtime in a single runtime fabric, remove the need to learn Docker or Kubernetes because there's a different Mule provides a Terraform script that will help you to set up everything using AWS, and ARM template if you're using Azure. And lastly, if you want to install manually, there's also a detailed guide for that. And then scale horizontally and redeploy with zero downtime. Cluster fault tolerant deployment, meaning nodes are aware of each other. If node fails, outstanding tasks transfer automatically to surviving nodes. Nodes can be added and subtracted from a cluster to adjust load capacity. And manage it all under MuleSoft control plane. So Runtime Fabric is seamlessly integrated to MuleSoft control plane. Okay, Runtime Fabric versus Cloud Hub. So Runtime Fabric, customer managed infrastructure, hosted third party like Azure, AWS, and customer data center, meaning your on-prem data center. And then requires the use of control plane by MuleSoft. Cloud Hub, everything is managed by MuleSoft. Includes both control plane and runtime plane. So over the past several months, more customers moving workloads to Kubernetes, developing own subject matter expertise with container and orchestration, higher need for runtime fabric that can run on Kubernetes distribution instead of standalone. So MuleSoft released a new version of runtime fabric on EKS and AKS. So it's the Elastic Kubernetes Service or Azure Kubernetes Service. So previously, the one that I discussed is using this one. So it's like setting up everything, including the controllers and the worker nodes. And using the runtime fabric on EKS and AKS is using the existing service of your AWS or your Azure infra. So there are several reasons to run runtime fabric on EKS or AKS. First is it's more easier to install and manage. Next is lower infrastructure cost using your existing AWS or Azure infrastructure. And then more options to control. Operations team can choose their preferred Linux-based operating system, reserve smaller set of internal IP address and deployments, and even their own ingress controller used to load balance request to mules. Because previously, if you're using this, I believe there are minimum 3 controller nodes per production. Yeah. Okay. So yes, deliver the customer as a package of components, runs on top of existing EKS or AKS environment. Customers bring their own Kubernetes ingress controller, as shown from the previous diagram, and external log forwarding and install RTF within it. Customer maintain the health of Kubernetes, and MuleSoft maintains the RTF services and Mule deployments. Why run on Fabric? So we have this first use case. So an enterprise organization is estimated to manage 200 Mule APIs and has its own AWS cloud provider. The organization wants to reduce its expenses in long term, considering that the number of APIs will grow in succeeding years. Using Cloud Hub, yes, possible. You can run a Mule application as low as a 0.1 Vcore and managed by MuleSoft. But on Runtime Fabric, you can run Mule application as low as 0.2 BCPU, and then use your existing EKS or AKS, and then you have more flexibility. You can choose your own data residency, then manage your own operation and maintenance. It's more flexible. And use case 2, a financial enterprise organization wants to leverage MuleSoft. So the organization required that the security and infrastructure must follow their own standards. Due to confidentiality, the transaction must remain in their own cloud or infrastructure. Cloud Hub use MuleSoft AWS. Yes, MuleSoft use AWS on their their servers. And then Runtime Fabric, you have option to use your own cloud or infrastructure. You can reserve smaller set of internal IP address or deployments, leverage based on your own standards. So you can fully customize it using your own firewall, your own policies, API gateways, and API proxies. And use case number 3, regulatory compliance. A financial enterprise organization wants to leverage MuleSoft, but there is a strict regulatory compliance in their country. So MuleSoft is continuously expanding, but not yet available in every country. But Runtime Fabric, majority of the companies using AWS or Azure for their Runtime Fabric to comply with the regulatory compliances. So you have more flexibility again using this Runtime Fabric. So benefits of Runtime Fabric. As I mentioned previously, more flexibility. Cloud Hub is managed by MuleSoft. In terms of logging, log resides in MuleSoft AWS. And per Mule application, it's limited to 100 MB or max 30 days, whichever comes first. And then on Runtime Fabric, operations team have full visibility into a managed Kubernetes environment. And you have your options where you want to store your logs on S3 or any archiving in the future. One more thing here on the Cloud Hub logging, you can customize or you can configure your log4j to ship your logs outside Cloud Hub. So you can ship it on a different, you can push it to Elasticsearch or a different logging tool also. It's possible using the log4j. And then benefit number 2, leverage on AWS or Azure services. So with Runtime Fabric on EKS or AKS, organizations will be able to leverage service offered by their cloud provider. So like this Amazon CloudWatch, then and S3 for your storage, and then Azure Monitor like the Amazon CloudWatch, and then Azure Blob Storage, the equivalent of the S3. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask. Conclusions. Cloud Hub provides a powerful platform for hosting Mule applications. Little to no setup required, with built-in scaling, advanced management features, and includes hosting and support. Well, runtime. Any question? Okay. Well, Runtime Fabric provides additional flexibility and opportunities for granular control, but more care must be taken to ensure the balance between scalability and performance is maintained. Bridges the gap between multiple clouds and on-premise resources to help enterprise meet changing business requirements in a quick and efficient manner. Customer must have correct skill set to manage AKS and EKS. So every MuleSoft service and deployment models provides a different features. Normally, I advise my clients to understand the organization ecosystem is key in deciding deployment model. And consider a technical aspect like network connectivity, security models, and revisit your application and business use cases. There's no standard guide or ruling in terms of which deployment you should use because each client or customers have a different use cases, and many factors can affect that, and especially when deciding to which deployment model. Yep, that's all. Any questions?
Thank you, Ajul, and good insight into, or at least an initial insight, let's say, and run through of, I guess, the options that you have with MuleSoft. I think over the last, I mean, my point of view is over the last probably 2 years, there seems to have been, MuleSoft has very much made its name from a pure iPaaS, I guess, platform, and Cloud Hub's been very, very popular for sure. I think what we have started to see is, especially, I say especially, but definitely in this region, and I'm not just talking about Singapore, I'm talking about, where we're working across the Philippines and in Hong Kong and in Malaysia and some of the types of businesses which, are substantial in size and transactions and things. New options around deployment models are definitely becoming more and more welcome, and what we're definitely starting to see is the evolution of the hybrid deployment model. So whether that be, go.
Yeah. So for example, on my current client right now, they're using Cloud Hub and both Runtime at the same time. So it's a bit of a mix or hybrid approach, really.
Yeah. So and this whether it's I guess the native mules essentially, and versus you going down the RTF and using Kubernetes or whatever flavor in terms of if they're running on AWS or Azure. So I think it's definitely becoming a more popular choice. But maybe, and Royston and I are definitely working on a couple of clients that are looking at that at the moment as well. And it's not just about the technology in this instance, right? We're talking now also about, you made a great point at the very end here, which is just around having skill sets as well, and in managing, containerized environments on the different things and having some of those skills. And so it's definitely becoming a hot topic, I guess. I've got a few other questions, but Atif is very active, so thank you, Atif. First question is around, do you have any costing comparison between the two options based on your experience?
Based on my own experience, actually, it depends on how you size the applications or the requirements of each client or customer. So I cannot provide like an apple-to-apple comparison. So it always depends on the overall requirements, and how you do the architecture of your application landscape.
I'll give another point of view, I guess. I think from a very high level, ultimately, the way that MuleSoft, from a pure licensing perspective, I guess, there is no there is no license difference, I guess, when you compare the two together. I guess I think that's from a licensing. There's whether you run Cloud Hub, i.e., it's all managed by MuleSoft, or whether you take it on premise in some way, shape, or form, then the licensing model is still the same, as a baseline. Okay. I guess where you start to see the differences and the variances then come from, I guess, you have to take into consideration that if you're not using Cloud Hub, which is, as the presentation alluded to, which is fully managed by MuleSoft, which is all effectively encapsulated within your licensing and subscription model. Now you're paying, if you go on-prem and you're using, again, whether it's RTF or another, you're then starting to kind of have to provision your own infrastructure, pay for data, pay for your operational team. So, with the flexibility also comes with a little bit more, operational management, I guess. So I guess that's for consideration. I think the only other point I would make is, when you start to use RTF, you start to get probably a bit more economies of scale, I think, maybe, and maybe this is where Ardra or Royston jump in, because you're way more technical, close to it than me. I think in terms of, I always say bang for your buck, you can probably use your cores more effectively, I guess. I think is that correct?
Yes.
So I guess potentially you may not need as much capacity, potentially, I say this potentially, Cloud Hub versus RTF. I see Royston, you've switched your camera on.
No, I think you've covered that point really well, Julian. It's there's trade-offs. I think the benefit I see with Cloud Hub is it's a fantastic customer experience in that everything is managed, especially around the up life cycle. However, you lose an element of control that some customers prefer to have, and some of the other trade-offs like sovereignty of data. So I think whenever I talk about this, it's usually with the angle of consider the total cost of ownership and also your own internal capability, because if you do take on these responsibilities of managing infrastructure, if you take on the responsibility of managing infrastructure, then that comes with the accountability to your internal and external stakeholders. So if you feel like you can do effectively a better job, or you want to take on the stress of running a platform, do it with open eyes.
Yeah, I think, and it's funny, so now you say that, but actually what generally tends to be that tipping point where the customers come into it is, we're not cloud ready. And I think that seems to be what I've seen as the first kind of statement which people want, is that, I like the platform, but we're not quite ready to be cloud. We're not quite ready to go full on cloud and leverage Cloud Hub as a platform and as a capability. And you then come around to other discussions. Is that your experience as well, Royston and Ardra?
For me, yeah, that's quite often that is one of the key reasons customers choose to deploy on-prem or on a different cloud, is either their core stack is living elsewhere in their own data center, or they just haven't really, like it's against their DNA to an extent, for lack of a better phrase, to use something on cloud when the rest of their ecosystem might be operating very differently. And one of the beauties of MuleSoft is it affords you that flexibility. So it makes sense to take advantage of it as long as you know what you're taking responsibility for.
I think for me, most of my clients are ready or ready on cloud, but they're now looking into a more hybrid type. So they're now exploring this runtime fabric. So it's really quite popular nowadays, and they're looking into it.
So hopefully that answered your question. If there's any other questions from the group, please do put them into the chat box. I guess, and we touched upon it already. I mean, what about the data aspect? And I know also around sovereignty of data. Royce and I, we've had this sort of discussion. what's your view in region within APAC and Southeast Asia at the moment around that, and where that can be a problem? Hi, Royston, you there?
Sorry, I thought that was addressed to Arjul. I lost track of that question.
No, sorry, there's a question just around data sovereignty and the challenges in region at the moment around that. I know we've had a couple of discussions around this recently. Have you seen any issues around that and considerations that need to be thought through, especially when it comes to AKS and EKS, which I guess across Amazon and Azure?
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's probably the first thing that we think about when we're talking about deployment models. So quite often customers have already crossed that bridge with other parts of their technology landscape. So whether they have a cloud strategy and what is allowed, which makes our lives a bit easier. So for example, if the customer already has a cloud strategy, which maybe has AWS as the preferred provider, it makes a lot of sense to then think about, okay, Cloud Hub would be an acceptable solution in that case, but then depends on which region they're in. So for example, let's go with ASEAN and the Philippines. If you have a customer who is very strict on not having transactional data going outside of the Philippines, then they're very limited with their ability to deploy runtimes outside of the Philippines or within the Philippines on a cloud provider. Because not many cloud providers have a presence in the Philippines. So those constraints quite often drive the options that are available in front of us. I'd say that it's more likely happening in certain industries than countries. So more often than not, whether it's government or financial services, you tend to see a certain approach, which tends to be more runtime fabric or on-premise. Whereas with industries such as retail or universities, they might tend to be more open towards the idea of running on Cloud Hub because they can, and also they would rather spend their resources on the development of their applications and don't necessarily have a historical capability in maintaining infrastructure platforms. Julian, you're on mute.
Julian, you're on mute.
There you go. Thank you. Schoolboy. Nearly got through the whole presentation now. So sorry, thank you, Arjul, again, and Royce on those points of view. I think it's definitely a topic which will continue to evolve, and the capability which MuleSoft are looking at and investing in within this have done over the last 6 months and will continue to do so over the next coming months and year on their roadmap. And one thing to look out for as well is around, we talked around Salesforce today and Hyperforce, right? So if people have not heard around that, and which is Salesforce's view to packaging up everything which is Salesforce and being able to deploy it anywhere, I guess. So which is very much a target at I guess public sector and the like, where there are cloud concerns. So MuleSoft will, as I understand, be wrapped up as part of that. So yet another option will be coming, I guess, in the coming months, and maybe 12 months. I think is 6 to 12 months is a timelines on that, if I'm right. Is that correct, Royston?
Definitely a bit of a longer horizon on that one.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so like I say, once again, if there's no more questions, you still do have any questions, please feel free to add them into the chat box. So moving on and probably towards the closure of the session. So I guess we typically come with some other news, and Royston, I'm going to throw this over to you now, and I'll.
The weather gods are making their presence felt.
Yeah, exactly. I can hear rumbles of thunder in Singapore.
Indeed. Yes, just a few announcements and updates for the community. For anyone who hasn't yet caught the news, Anypoint Data Graph has been GA'd. This is a new capability within the Anypoint platform. And effectively, it allows you to combine different APIs that you have within your API ecosystem so it becomes easier to consume data from them. Now, I can't do justice for this in a 2-minute segment. However, there is a webinar that is available on demand, and yeah, you can tune in and catch what the actual capability is. But more importantly, if you want to try this out yourself, there is a quick start tutorial that's available on the MuleSoft docs page. There's a blog post about this as well, so Anypoint Data Graph, search on Google, you'll get there. And lastly, if you want to try this out yourself, it is available on all new trial accounts, but can't be retrofitted on existing trial accounts. So it is a paid aspect to the platform. So for existing customers, it will be a change in licensing. However, if you want to trial it out, it's a new trial account, you'll have the capability to do it. There's a number of meetups globally that I think are running on this, including that webinar as well. So I strongly recommend you explore the capability so you understand what it means for your API landscape. All right, next slide, please, June. For people interested in the connector landscape, just an FYI, there are a number of new connectors that are launched on Exchange. This is, just all the names that are on there. Just as an overall comment, the connector landscape is quickly evolving, and there's effectively between 5 and 15 connectors being launched every month. So just because you might not have seen a connector the last time around, doesn't mean that it isn't there yet. So this is one way to keep on top of them, is to come to meetups, but there's also a release notes page where these are all captured. So it's mainly just an information segment here. I think for the region that we have, the Telegram connector is probably one of the more interesting ones, considering it's quite popular in Singapore and Southeast Asia. All right, next please, Teams. So any frequent users of the platform who've gone into access management in the last 2 weeks would have noticed that there's a new feature called Teams. This is a long-awaited part of the platform where historically we've had the concept of users and roles and permissions. Now we've got the concept of Teams coming in as an evolution of that. And what Teams does is it allows you to manage people within the platform in a way that is very similar to how an organization manages people, which is you put them into teams. So all the functionality that we had around roles is effectively going to be phased out over the next 12 months, and the strong preferences for teams to be used. And so me as an individual, I will be part of, I can be part of a parent team, like me at MuleSoft, and then I can have sub-teams and child teams as well. And you can manage permissions using that regime, and you can also do your Active Directory mapping as well with external groups. So if you haven't looked into it, there is a toggle in the access management feature for all accounts, including existing customers as well. And it is fully reversible as of now. So just because you enable it doesn't mean it's an irreversible thing. I've got a few slides here about functionality, but it's fairly straightforward. What I do want to call out is that if you move into the, I think one more slide, maybe a couple more. There is a blog post which actually covers what Teams is, including a bit of a demo as well. So I highly encourage you just to read that so you get familiar with it. But more importantly, visit it. If you are a platform administrator, head over to the access management section and see what the capabilities are. And if you need to make any changes in that space, probably a good thing to do for the next couple of months so that before someone else asks you to do it. All right, thank you. Moving over to events. So hot off the press, we've just announced that MuleSoft Summit Asia is going to be happening on the 3rd of August, which is about 6 weeks away, so not that far away. There's going to be quite a bit of content on that day. It's going to be at 10:30 a.m. Singapore time. Aravind and I are actually going to be presenting. So the session that you see there that says implementing modern architectural patterns with MuleSoft, you get a chance to hear from Aravind and myself. There is no reason not to register, but there is a very good reason to register, which is that for a certain number of people who register early on, we're giving away $30 lunch vouchers. So I strongly recommend heading over to this link that I'm going to paste in the chat very, very soon and registering. Actually, yeah, I'll paste it in the chat once I'm done speaking. So yeah, register for the event. It's about 90 minutes. There's going to be a number of meetups on the same day as well. So I highly encourage you to participate in any meaningful way you can. All right, next please.
I think just to add on to that one, I believe there's going to be a meetup as well, a dev meetup after this, which I'm being lured into hosting as well. So, and I'll rope you in as well, Royce, and obviously. So maybe watch out for that one as well.
Yes, it's definitely going to be at least one meetup, if not multiple on that day. All right. I wanted to do a call out for the MuleSoft Mentors program. It was open for applications until June the 18th. However, that is currently closed. So people have applied and there's a process to get them selected. However, if you are interested, if you head over to mulesoft.com/mentors, you can learn more about the program. And if you want to be mentored or understand who in the community is a mentor, you can look up these people and see their journey with MuleSoft as well. Many of them are just like you and me. They just have had more experience and are happy to contribute to different communities and in different ways, whether it's speaking or running a meetup or some other way. And there's benefits of being part of the program as well, which is never something that hurts. Oh, next please. For anyone who's missed the Friends of Mac series, just to call out that there are some new videos that have been launched for Friends of Macs. Probably the one that's most interesting to people would be the second and third one on the left, specifically the number 3, the high availability and disaster recovery in Cloud Hub. Not many people have a good understanding of how to do multi-region HA and DR because it's not something that's natively within the platform. So if you're looking at how to solve for that challenge, I strongly recommend that video. It's roughly about between 5 and 15 minutes, so it's not that long at all. And just on the right-hand side is all of the most popular videos from last month. So if you weren't aware that they existed, all of these are less than 15 minutes, and they're a great way to learn about different parts of the platform or share them with your teams because they're very efficient at doing it. Next, please. Just in terms of training reminders, I believe this certification maintenance program is still running for this month. So if you haven't renewed your certifications, just a call out to do that. And if you haven't got a link, you should be able to Google for it. Otherwise, I'll try and paste it in the chat after I'm done speaking. Next, please. All right, I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. I can hear more and more thunder coming through on your microphone as mine. So yeah, some really good things. I think just to add to that, maybe also coming maybe from a partner perspective, there are clearly a number of things that are happening, more materials and access to more and more content that a lot of the partner teams can leverage. So please, if you're working in a partner capacity, do reach out to your leadership team or whatever, and make sure you get access to all the materials that are available for you. That there's a wealth of information that is freely accessible to everyone. Actually, to be fair, on the MuleSoft website, and then even furthermore for the partner ecosystem as well. Clearly, I think there's a number of focus areas for MuleSoft that come on the roadmap, and a lot of that is going to be already spoken around connectors, but also industry solutions as well is going to be a greater evolution over the next 12 months, both in terms of capability on the platform, but also MuleSoft's point of view and making sure that everyone really understands how to directly address whether it be business processes and then integration specific to each industry. So watch out for that as well. Just a quick heads up. So probably the next meetup scheduled for Singapore, as it were, is going to be towards the end of September. Tentatively penciled in as the 24th, so that's actually, was that 3 months today? So announcements on that will come out as usual in terms of emails, etc. So that's on that side. Again, my meetup plead for speakers. So we're always on the lookout for new speakers, and so if you do have a topic that you'd like to talk around, typically, as you already seen, it's about 20 minutes of presentation material. That can be anything you like. Can be just a straight up demo. Could be your experience. Could be a specific topic that you worked on, area of functionality on the platform, or even just how you've implemented, and an example of how you've implemented. Everyone's always keen to understand what people are doing. So do feel free to reach out to both myself and Royston. Again, on the MuleSoft Meetup page, all our contact details are there. So please do get in contact. Would love to have some new speakers and from the community. Oh, okay. I'm very conscious of time. So quick competition as always. I'm going to make it fairly easy. I think I'm only going to do maybe one question on today. So one chance and one chance only. So make sure you're prepared on this one. So you can answer your, or put your answer in the chat window. First answer, I'd say the first three answers, closest answers as well, will receive a prize. And just before I give the question, please, if you are one of the three winners, please don't forget to email me email me so I have your registration, so I can provide you with the registration information to collect your awards, because I don't see anybody's email addresses. So I only see your names, but I don't see any email addresses. So please do get back in contact with myself and Royston with your, so we have your email details. Okay, so quick question for today, and hopefully it's not too difficult. In Arjul's presentation, he, at the very start, so you're gonna have to cast your minds back 25 minutes, he highlighted 4 deployment models for MuleSoft. Can anyone name all 4 deployment models? So you can put your answers into the chat box. You should be able to get at least 2, hopefully.
Julian, you're on mute.
Twice. 3. Thank you. Everyone's done really well. Thank you for that. And Hiralal and Hirakesh, I think maybe Hirakesh needed 2 more. So the answers were Cloud Hub number 1, hybrid. You can do on-prem native, and you can do runtime fabric. So that was the answer. So I'll collect. So, and then also Rajiv and maybe Rakesh and Atif. I'll extend the link so that everyone, if you guys email me, I'll get the links now so you can collect your prize. Very good. If there are any other questions, please do shout now. Yeah, actually. So what I'll do also is I'll put my details here so you can email me. But similarly, if you don't catch that, you can go onto the MuleSoft Meetup page, and both, like I said, myself and Royston's contact details, you can connect with us via that as well. So your emails that you want to post can come straight to us, any queries. And just to reiterate also, if anyone does want to participate, then please do contact us via that way as well. So last of all, maybe it would be good if we can get maybe a quick picture, if people can do that. If people can turn their cameras on, it'd always be good just to get a quick snap if we can, if people are okay with that. So maybe as we go now, see if we can get a few more in rather than just myself and Royston's faces. And how do I get more? There we go. It's a few more joining us.
Just connecting, making them presenters. So
okay, that's the
trick. It's a bit tedious, but it's worth it.
Slowly but surely. That's more difficult than I thought it was going to be. So hopefully everyone enjoyed today's session. We just to reiterate, so we had Aravind. So thank you for your presentation on Marketing Cloud, and really good insight into some key top tips, and similarly Arjo on all of the MuleSoft deployment stuff. All of the presentation material will go up on the MuleSoft Meetup page. I'll send out an email also afterwards, so you'll get that updated and you'll get a link to it, and a quick thank you for joining. So, okay, any more cameras we can get on? There, go back to you. Good to see you. Okay, very good. Okay, perhaps that's it. Let's thank you for everyone for joining again. Much appreciated. Enjoy your rest of your days, evenings, wherever you may be residing, and hope to see you first and foremost at the MuleSoft event in August, and then also our next meetup in September. Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, Julian.
Okay, no problems.
Bye-bye.